This is one of over 500 assisted PNF stretching demonstrations that can be found as part of my 80 Days to Your Dream Body course, which is available to my channel members. If you'd like to see all of them, then consider becoming a member. But for right now, let's get our stretch on. And while we're resting, it's time to move on to the theme of today's video, and that is going to be assisted PNF stretching. I'm going to be taking you through the 21 most important sideline PNF stretches. Before we actually get into the stretches, the first thing that I want to do is go over a little bit of circumduction. A lot of times when people are very, very restricted or they have a lot of pain, if you get a little bit of circumduction before you start the PNF, you're going to be able to get them to relax. And by getting them to relax, you're going to be able to get deeper into the stretch and get a much more effective stretch. The whole point of doing circumduction is to build up the synovial fluid in the joint. The synovial fluid, that is the lubricating fluid that helps to lubricate the joints and make everything move nice and freely. So by building up the synovial fluid, this is going to help to reduce friction in the joint. And if anybody's experienced any type of pain or pinching, by doing this before we get into the stretching, this is going to allow them to relax and make the arm feel a lot smoother. That way they're not guarding and you can get deeper into the stretch. When we're performing circumduction, what we want to do is we want to sit next to the patient. So we want to get our body parallel to the patient's body. We want to just go ahead, place the leg on the table, and then with the patient's arm, the way we're going to do that is we're going to go with an underhanded grip. So we want their forearm resting on our forearm, and then we want to cup the hand right over the anterior joint capsule, right over the acromion. With the other hand, we could just rest up over top. And then in this position, what we would do is just some circular motion. With regard to the circular motions, we want to start small, and we can start in a counterclockwise direction. Then, as they start loosening up, feeling a little bit more comfortable, we're going to get larger with the circles and larger. Once we find that they're nice and loose, we could then switch directions and we're going to go now clockwise. When we're going clockwise, we're going to maintain those large movements and we're going to get larger and larger with the circles as we progress. Another thing that we can do is, aside from just circles, we could also do figure eights. So we could go forward up into elevation, then we could go back, and then we can make an 8. So we're going to cross the midline, come down, then we're going to cross again. So we're going into slight extension. We're going to bring the arm forward. Then we're going to start transitioning into shoulder flexion. As we come downward into depression, we're going to then go transition into extension again. And then as we come upward, we're going to transition into flexion. So just make sure that you are tracing an 8 with your body, with your glenohumeral joint. But that is how we can perform some circumduction, and that's going to be a great way to help warm up the tissue prior to beginning your treatment in a sideline position. During the next rest period, I'm going to start going over some of the scapulocoastal joint and how exactly we can work on these scapular elevators. But for right now, our rest period is up. Time for set number 1. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.